So I'd like to welcome Jim and Lori, and they've been, doing this for years. They'll tell you a little bit about themselves, and they'll fill you in on some of the things that the agencies do. But I really appreciate their time, that they spend with us. But let's just start with the show, and then later you have a chance to ask questions that you might have. But you are going to enjoy this thoroughly.
Thank you.
The treat.
Yeah, my name is Jim Williams,
And I'm Lori Cameron.
and we work for the Cerebral Palsy Association of the North Country. It's a nonprofit agency based in Canton. And what you're going to see today is our Kids on the Block Disabilities Awareness Program. This is a program we've been doing as an agency for like over 25 years. We're able to provide this to all the elementaries, offer this to the elementary schools in the northern 6 counties of New York through a family support grant from the New York State Office for people with developmental disabilities. This used to be more widespread throughout the state. It seems to have been, in other areas of the state they're not offering this as much anymore, but we're continuing to offer this up here. So what you're going to see is how we present this to the information about developmental disabilities to 3rd graders. That's our target audience. Sometimes we'll do 4th graders also. So hopefully you'll learn a little bit about specific developmental disabilities as well as how we present that information to this age group. So we'll pretty much just start off just as we do to a 3rd grade class, because otherwise we'll get all confused.
I know.
So,
Jim would.
How's everyone doing today? Good.
Good, great. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Lori.
My name's Jim.
And today you're going to see a puppet show. But before we begin our puppet show, there are 2 rules we'd like to talk about. Rule number 1, I would like everybody to remain seated on your bottoms right where you are throughout the whole program. This will allow others behind you and around you to be able to see. Now our puppets are going to be way up here on the table, so you will be able to see the show just fine.
Now I like to talk, and Lori likes to talk, and our puppets like to talk, and I bet you guys like to talk also. So during the presentation, if you have any questions you'd like to ask or something you'd like to share, there is something we need you to do first. Can anyone show me what that is? Right, raising your hands, that's rule number 2. And what's also going to help with that, if you just hold on to your questions till we get to points during the presentation where we ask for questions, that'll make it easier for everyone.
Okay, well, who has seen a puppet show before? Okay, great. Well, one type of puppet show you may have seen is where your hand is in a puppet and it's behind a stage. That's called hand puppetry. Another type of puppet show you may have seen are where the puppets are on strings. Those are called marionettes.
Now, the type of puppetry we're going to do today is a Japanese style of puppetry called bunraku. Now, you may have noticed that Lori and I are both wearing black. Well, part of the reason for that is with this type of puppetry, that's going to kind of help you pay attention to the puppets and not to us. Because you're going to see us sitting and standing right behind the puppets. You're going to see our hands moving and our mouths moving because, we're not ventriloquists or anything like that. But, we're not just going to hang out here and talk about puppetry all morning because I bet you guys want to see some puppets, right? Right. So before we meet the first one, though, I want to ask you another question. How many of you like animals? All right, that's excellent. So Liza is the first person we're going to meet here today. As a matter of fact, she likes animals so much that she volunteers 2 times a week at the local animal hospital, and her name is Ellen Jane Peterson. Hey, Ellen Jane.
Hi.
How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Good. Hi. How are you? Good.
Yeah, Ellen Jane, I was just telling her about your job at the animal hospital.
Yeah, I helped Doc Rogers with the animals at the animal hospital ever since I graduated from my special class.
Okay, your special class. Let me explain special classes to the folks because, in a lot of different schools, there's all sorts of different types of special classes. Like you guys are probably aware of, there can be special classes for reading, special classes for math, and special classes for speech, things like that. Well, there's also special classes for someone like Ellen Jane. See, now, Ellen Jane was born with what's called Down syndrome. Now, one of the things about Down syndrome is that most people who are born with that, well, they also have what's called an intellectual disability. And there are special classes for people who have an intellectual disability. It's part of what we call special education. Now, Ellen Jane was really excited when she graduated from her special classes, and that was last year when she was 21 years old. Because when she graduated, she ended up getting a job 5 days a week at a grocery store, and that left her enough time throughout the rest of the week so that she can volunteer 2 times at the animal hospital. Isn't that right, Ellen Jane?
That's right. I have 2 jobs. My one job, I work at the grocery store. And at the end of the week, I get a paycheck. I like that a lot. And 2 times a week, I help Doc Rogers with the animals at the animal hospital. And I don't get a paycheck for that, but Doc Rogers says I'm a really good helper. Hey, you know what? One day, Doc Rogers let me take home one of the animals, and we're going to show you what happened the very first day that my friend Melody got to meet my pet.
Hi, Ellen
Hi.
Hey, here's the money for the animal fund.
Oh, thank you. The lady at the animal fund told me I had to give you one of these. It says a repeat.
Oh, I think you mean a receipt, Ellen
Oh yeah, a receipt.
Hey, what's in the box?
Oh, George. George is in my box.
George, who's George?
George is my pet snake.
Snake, yikes!
Oh, it's okay, Melody. George is just a gardener snake. He won't hurt you.
I think you mean garter snake, Ellen
Oh yeah.
I don't know, I'm really kind of afraid of snakes.
It's okay. Here, look.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, you could pet him.
Pet him?
Yeah.
No way, he's all slimy.
It's okay, Melody. You can pet George.
I don't know. Do you think I should?
See?
Well, okay. Hey, you're right. He's not slimy. He's kind of smooth.
See? Most people who don't know anything about snakes think that they're slimy, but they're really not.
Nope, he's not.
No. See? You weren't afraid of George.
No. But, you know what, LJ?
What?
This kind of makes me think about some of the kids in our neighborhood who were kind of afraid of you, because you're a little different.
What do you mean?
Well, because you have Down syndrome.
Oh, well, people don't have to be afraid of me because of Down syndrome. It just means that I learn things slower. I know that I look a little different, and well, I may act differently sometimes too, but I'm just a regular person. It's kind of like George here.
Huh? What do you mean?
Well, the day that Doc Rogers let me take George home, I brought him home to show my mom and dad. And when I did, my mom told me that me and George have a lot in common.
But LJ, what can you have in common with the snake?
Well, my mom told me that you know how sometimes people are afraid of snakes because they don't know anything about them?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay, well, my mom also told me that sometimes people are afraid of other people who are a little different.
Yeah, and I'm not afraid of you, LJ. You're nice.
Thanks. Hey, do you want to take George home?
Well, sure, maybe for a short visit. And you know what, LJ?
What?
When I bring George back, I'll bring some kids from the neighborhood by. And when they meet you, they won't be afraid of you anymore either.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Okay, I think we'll get going.
Okay.
Bye, LJ.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for LJ? Maybe about her job or anything more about her disability? Well, LJ, maybe you can explain to the folks maybe a little bit more about what Down syndrome means for you.
Oh, well, I had to ask my mom and dad all about it because I really didn't understand it either. And well, my mom told me that because I have Down syndrome, it means that I learn things slower. Not just things like when I used to go to school, but almost everything in my life. Like my mom told me that when I was really young and first learning how to walk and talk, it took me a really long time to learn to do those things, a lot longer than other kids. And well, I went to school until I was 21 years old, but after school I told you a little bit about my 2 jobs, the one at the grocery store and the one at the animal hospital. Well, again, because I learn things slower, it even takes me a really long time to learn a job. That's why wherever I work, I have to work with my job coach. His name is Kevin. Kevin is with me every day while I'm learning my job. And also, I live in my own apartment, but I need help there too. So I have people that come into my apartment every day and they teach me how to do things. They'll teach me how to do laundry, how to make meals, go grocery shopping, things like that. Now, my mom and dad also told me that because I have Down syndrome, I do look a little different than other people. And well, I asked them, how did I get Down syndrome? And they told me that I was born with Down syndrome because my genes broke.
Wait a minute, LJ. And you know there's different types of genes, right?
Oh yeah, I know. There's Levi's and Lee's and Wranglers.
Well, hang on a second. Those genes are a type of clothing, but I think your parents are talking about a different type of genes. Does anyone know what type of genes their parents are thinking about?
The chromosome.
Right, okay, these chromosomes, okay, the genes your parents are talking about are not a type of clothing. These genes are like, these genes are like a collection of chemicals, and what they do is they act like messengers, okay? And chromosomes make up the genes, correct? Is that the way it goes? And so you had some extra information on some of these genes that didn't actually come from your mom or dad, but that information said that you're going to have Down syndrome. And now you guys remember what I said in the beginning, that most people who have Down syndrome also have this intellectual disability? Well, that's, Jean, is something wrong?
Well, did I do something wrong?
Do you guys think Jean did anything wrong? No, you're right, Ellen, because you didn't do anything wrong. What happened to you happened way before you were born. You know, it really could have happened to any of us.
So, I had something different with my jeans, but not my pair of pants.
Yes, that's right.
And that's what made me different.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for Jean? Well, we're going to meet some other people right now, so let's say goodbye to Jean.
Okay, bye.
Jean.
Okay, the next two people you're going to meet today are named Jennifer and Nam. And Jennifer and Nam are going to talk to you about learning disabilities.
Hey, I wonder where Nam is. Nam said he was going to meet me here for lunch today. I hope he's not really late and misses all lunch. Nam, hurry up.
Yeah, I'm coming, Jen. I couldn't find my lunch.
Hey, it sure was nice of Mr. Bean to let us eat outside today.
Sure was. Hey, what you got there?
Well, let me check.
Okay.
Looks like usual.
Yeah.
What do you have?
Well, let me see. Oh, gross. I should have bought the school lunch today.
Hey, Nam, I was meaning to ask you about your dog. Ellen Jane was telling me your dog was sick.
You know Ella Jane?
Yeah.
Ella Jane Peterson?
Yeah, sure. She's the assistant at the animal hospital. She was really nice to me when my pet turtle died.
Oh yeah, sure. Ella Jane is nice, and she did take really good care of my dog.
Good.
But, did you know that Ella Jane has Down syndrome?
Oh, yeah. Hey, I have homemade chocolate chip cookies today. Yum.
Well, did you know that Ella Jane has an intellectual disability, and that's why she learns slower?
Oh, yeah. Hey, have an extra cookie. Want one?
No thanks. Maybe later, Jen.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, I was wondering, is having an intellectual disability the same thing as, well, you know what you have?
Oh, I think you want to know if having an intellectual disability is the same thing as having a learning disability.
Yeah, if you don't mind me saying so, Jen, it seems like they're the same things to me.
Yeah, I used to think so too, but then I asked my mom and dad about it.
And what did they say?
They said that they're two completely different things.
They are.
Yeah, like with me, I have a learning disability called dyslexia, and that means I have a hard time learning to read. But it doesn't mean I can't learn other things. Like I'm still really good at math.
Oh, so that's why you work with Miss Ritchie, the resource teacher at our school.
That's right, Miss Ritchie teaches me to learn to read the way I learn best. But, you know, with Ellen Jane having an intellectual disability, what that means, it makes her learn like everything slower. You know, I guess she still has a hard time learning to do her laundry and to make her lunches, things like that. My dad said there are some things she may never be able to learn to do.
Okay, now I see how you're different.
Yeah, but we're still a lot alike.
You are? Well, how are you alike?
Well, we both like to tell jokes. We both like animals. We're both the same on the inside because we have feelings.
Yeah, you're right, Jen. We are all the same on the inside.
Yep, because we have feelings.
Yep,
Hey, but it's our differences that make us all unique.
you said it. Well, I guess I better be going, Jen. Hey, you still coming by to my house after school to help me with that math?
Yeah, you bet.
Great.
Hey, let's see if these folks have any questions for me, and I'll catch up with you later.
Okay, bye. Bye, Jen.
Bye now. Hey, does anyone have any questions for me about my learning disability or things I do in the resource room, things like that? Well, what I can do is I can explain to you a little bit about maybe how dyslexia affects me. See, for me, having dyslexia, it makes it hard for me to learn to read. It's not like I can't learn to do other things. Like, you know, before I went to school, I learned to walk and talk and ride my bike. Like at the same age my older brother did, and he does not have dyslexia. But when it comes to reading, I have a really hard time figuring out the words as they go across the page. Miss Ritchie said it's kind of like the part of my brain that does the reading, but that part of my brain gets the information all mixed up. So when I'm looking at the words on the page, it's kind of like, you know, the letters look like they're in the wrong order inside of the words, and the letters kind of look like they're upside down or facing backwards or things like that. So when I'm looking at the words on the page, well, they look all jumbled up like some kind of secret code, and that's why I have a hard time figuring them out. And that's why I go down to Miss Ritchie's room 3 times a week to get some extra help. She says by going down there, you know, we can help figure out ways that I can train my brain to recognize words and letters the right way. Like one of the first things she did when I went down there was to have me hold a ruler underneath each line and follow along with my finger. And that kind of helped. Now we have this special card that has a rectangular hole cut out in the middle of it, so it blocks out all the other words on the page except for the one word I'm reading. So that helps me to figure out that one word a whole lot better. I also work on spelling by Miss Ritchie reading these spelling words and spelling them out, and then I type them into a computer, and they come out really big on the computer screen. In that way, I can hear how they're spelled, I can recognize the letters a lot better when they're really large on the computer screen, and I'm also using my fingers to memorize the spelling of words. And also sometimes I can go down to Miss Ritchie's room, say if there's a big test, I can take it down to her room, she can read me the questions, but I do have to figure out the answers all by myself. So stuff like that.
Wow, okay. Anything else for Jennifer? Okay, then let's say goodbye to Jen. Bye, Jen.
Everyone.
Okay. Now, what we want you to see here is that there's a difference between having a learning disability, such as Jennifer, and having an intellectual disability, such as Ellen Jane. Now, having an intellectual disability, it means you're slow to learn things, and that's learning almost everything slower, not just having some difficulty in school. But with Ellen Jane, even when she was first learning how to walk and talk and dress and feed herself, it took her a really long time to learn to do those things, a lot longer than other children that go through those developmental stages. Now, Ellen Jane went to school until she was 21 years old, but after school she told you a little bit about those 2 jobs that she has, the one at the grocery store and the one at the animal hospital. She told you a little bit about that job coach that she needs to work with at her job site. Now that job coach is a very important person for Ellen Jane. The job coach will take that job Ellen Jane is learning, break it up into different steps, and teach Ellen Jane each step of that job until she can learn it, understand it, and remember it. Now, Ellen Jane lives all by herself in her own apartment, but again, because she does learn slower, she has those special people that come into her apartment every day. And those people teach Ellen Jane how to do things. They'll teach her how to do laundry, how to make meals, they'll take her out and show her how to go grocery shopping, and they'll also help her with her paycheck at the end of the week. So, having an intellectual disability means you learn almost everything slower.
Okay, now the big difference with learning disabilities is that learning disabilities usually just affect one area of learning. Like we heard with Jennifer, the fact that she has dyslexia, it makes it hard for her to learn to read. Well, there's lots of other different types of learning disabilities that affect different areas of learning. Like if somebody was to have what's called dyscalculia, that means they have a hard time learning to do math. And maybe for somebody with dyscalculia, maybe when they see the different numbers, maybe they have a hard time imagining how much each number stands for. So when they see the number 6, they have a hard time knowing it stands for this many, and that can make it kind of hard to do things like adding and subtracting and multiplication. Another type of learning disability is dysgraphia, and that's when somebody has a hard time learning to write. And that could be that maybe somebody with dysgraphia maybe has a hard time learning to draw the letters the right way, or maybe they have a hard time putting the words in the right order so that it makes sense for somebody else to read. And there's lots of other different types of learning disabilities, more than we can mention here today. And it's important for you to know that each learning disability affects each person differently. Like dyslexia is actually the most common type of learning disability, but people who have dyslexia will describe it differently. Like Jennifer says, when she looks at the words on the page, it's kind of like the letters look like they're in the wrong order inside of the words, and the letters look like they're they can look like they're upside down or backwards. Other people who have dyslexia, for them, it may appear that when they're looking at the words on the page, maybe all the words and letters look like they're on different lines, or maybe the words and letters look like they're floating off the page or sinking into the paper. Or maybe they can't recognize that space in between the words. So it's kind of like all the words and letters just run together into one big long line of letters, and they can't see where the words end and begin. So maybe you can imagine if that's the way somebody's brain is making the words and letters appear, it'd be pretty hard to learn to read, don't you think? And it is, and having a learning disability does last for somebody's whole life. So they'll always have a hard time with the reading, writing, or math, whatever their learning disability affects. However, they'll be able to learn to do other things in different ways and take their other talents and their other skills so that they can go on to do lots of different things with their life. And that's the big difference compared to, from having a learning disability versus having an intellectual disability. Because when somebody has an intellectual disability, that affects like all areas of their learning and many areas of their life. So do you see the difference between those two disabilities? That makes sense? Any questions? Okay, well we're going to meet three other people right now, and their names are Eddie, David, and Joanne, and they're going to talk to you today about a different disability called autism.
Oh, can you believe it? I'm going to meet David in like 5 minutes. It seems like such a long time ago since I dropped off those cookies to David's brother, Eddie. Eddie said David is 15 years old and he should be coming home from school any time now. I've already changed my outfit 4 times, but this one is my favorite. Hey, you know what? Maybe I could get one more peek at them. Oh, there they are. Hey, what are they doing? Playing ball?
Okay, David, let's keep playing ball. I'm ready. 1, 2, 3, back to me.
Ball. E.
Good catch, David. I'm ready. 2, 3, 4, across the floor. Good toss, David. I'm ready. 1, 2, 3, back to me.
Ball, 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 ball.
Good going, David. I'm ready. 2, 3, 4, across the floor. Good going, David. Good playing ball. Hey, they must be Joanne. David, wait right here. I'll be right back. Hey, David, here's the chair. Why don't you have a seat while I go get Joanne?
E. E. E.
Come on in, Joanne.
Well, gee, Eddie, I could come back another time if you're too busy.
Oh, no, now's a good time. Actually, David's having a good day today. Aren't you, buddy?
Cookie.
Hey, David. David, look at me, David. Good looking. David, what do you say when somebody says hello to you?
Hi, David.
Okay, David, look at me, David. Good looking. Now, David, what do you say when Joanne says hello to you?
Hi.
Okay, good looking and good talking too, David. Now, David, look at me. Good looking. Now, what do you want? I.
I want cookie.
Okay, good asking, David. Let's go get those cookies. Hey, Joanne, did you want a cookie?
No thanks. Maybe later, Eddie.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, David, here's your cookies. Why don't you eat them right here? Well, there you go, Joanne. Now you've met my big brother, David.
Wow, gee, Eddie, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Well, what's wrong with him anyway? Is he deaf or something?
Oh, no. David's not deaf. He can hear just fine. Can't you, buddy? You know, you just noticed that David has autism.
He has what?
Autism. David is autistic.
Oh yeah, artistic. Like he can paint and draw and stuff.
No, not artistic, autistic. That means David has autism. I guess that's kind of a complicated way of saying that David has a hard time communicating with us. He has a hard time using words to let us know what he thinks and what he wants and how he feels.
Oh, wow. Well, he'll go out of it someday, right?
I guess not. Most of the doctors my parents have spoke to say once somebody has autism, they have it for life.
Oh, so is it kind of like having an intellectual disability?
Well, I asked my parents that too, and they said that for David, having autism is different than having an intellectual disability.
Oh, well, he has trouble learning, right?
Well, that's true, but for David, having autism affects a lot more than just his ability to learn things. See, for David, having autism, it makes it hard for him to live in a world that's full of people, noises, and things. And when he has a hard time dealing with all that stuff, and since he has a hard time using words, he may try to let us know by like flapping his arms or making noises, things like that.
Oh, wow. Well, he did a great job at playing ball. How come, Eddie?
Well, you know, I do a lot of things with my big brother, but I often kind of have to help him from one step of an activity to the next. I guess that's another way that autism affects David, is it makes it hard for him to go from one part of an activity to the next. So even with something simple like playing ball, well, I kind of have to remind him it's his turn to catch the ball, or it's his turn to throw the ball, things like that. And then other times that he gets stuck on doing things like, you know, when he's around the house and he sees a digital clock, he likes to sit and watch the numbers change for a long time. And, you know, he likes to find little pieces of fuzz, a little piece of paper to roll between his fingers. He likes to hold his hands underneath the water at the faucet for a long time, stuff like that.
Oh, wow. And he rocks back and forth, too. How come?
Well, I'm not really sure. I guess he must kind of like it. It must kind of feel good. You do a lot of things over and over again, don't you, buddy? Kind of like what your man's doing here.
Oh, no. Am I playing with my hair again? Oh, my mom doesn't like when I do that. I do it all the time.
Ah, so you have a habit that you do over and over again also.
Yeah, I have habits just like David.
Yeah, but I guess the difference is David's habits are kind of unusual. He does them for a lot longer than what other people would do.
Well, gee, Eddie, thanks for telling me about your brother David. You see, when I saw you two playing ball...
Hey, were you spying on us?
Well, maybe for just a minute. You see, when I was watching you two, I couldn't understand why you would be teaching your older brother something simple, like playing ball.
Which way, if you saw us before you came over, I mean, like, why'd you still come over? I mean, David's probably not who you expect him to be, huh?
Yeah, but hold on, Eddie. David's not that different.
What do you mean?
Well, I still think he's one cute guy.
Joanne.
Well, I guess I better be going, Eddie. Hey, thanks for introducing me to David. Bye, everyone. Bye, Eddie.
Bye, Joanne. Hey, does anyone have any questions for me about my brother David or about autism? Yes, right there.
There are different levels of autism, is that correct?
Yeah, that's one thing my parents always remind me to tell people is that autism really affects people in lots of different ways. Like with my brother, you know, it makes it hard for him to communicate with other people. He gets stuck on doing different things, and he has a lot of, you know, kind of unique habits. Now, other people with autism, well, some people with autism, they might not hardly be able to communicate with other people hardly at all. And they might have such a hard time going from one activity to another, even going from one room to another could be very difficult for them, making any kind of changes like that. Now, other people with autism can go on to do lots of different things. My parents said that they saw this college professor talking about autism, and that college professor had autism. So even though that woman had autism, well, she was still able to go on to become a college professor. So it really does affect people in lots of different ways. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, anything else for Eddie? Okay, then let's say goodbye to Eddie. Bye, Eddie.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, now we've met a few people and we've talked about a few types of disabilities, and you're probably starting to see how different disabilities can affect people in different ways. Now, we saw it with Ellen Jane, who has Down syndrome and an intellectual disability. That affects many different areas of her life. You know, when she was in school, she was in special classes, she gets extra help at her job, she gets extra help in the apartment that she lives in. And she's always going to need that kind of extra help so that she can be as independent as possible. Now we see with Jennifer, who has dyslexia, well, having dyslexia definitely makes it hard for her to learn to read, yet there'll be lots of different things that she'll be able to do as she gets older, yet even though reading will always be difficult for her. Now we see with David, we can see how autism affects many different areas of his life. It definitely can affect how he behaves. It certainly affects how, when people first meet David, they can also often be wondering, like, why is this guy acting this way? And it's not like he's trying to be funny or scary, yet, having autism does affect how he behaves for other people. Now, the next person we're going to meet today has a different type of a disability, and I guess you can kind of consider this as being a physical disability, because it's the kind of disability you can tell somebody has right away. And this young man's name is Mark Riley. Hey Mark, do you need any help down there?
No, thank you. I can do it by myself. But sometimes I do need a little help.
Well, sometimes we all need a little help.
That's the truth.
So, how you doing today, Mark?
I'm decent, awesome, rad.
Well, that's excellent. Now, Mark's here today to help me talk to you guys about cerebral palsy. Now, cerebral palsy is a disability that happens to somebody when they've experienced damage to the part of the brain that controls the muscles of the body. Now, somebody can experience damage to the brain for many different reasons. Sometimes it can happen before somebody's born. Sometimes it can happen while they're being born, and sometimes it can happen after they're born. Now, some ways that somebody's brain can be damaged after they're born could be if their brain goes without enough oxygen or enough blood supply for a long period of time, and that could happen if somebody suffocates or if they almost drown. And the brain can also be damaged by things that happen inside the brain and other things that happen from outside the brain. Now, once the brain is damaged and doesn't work, it's not going to heal and get better. It's not like, if you get a cut on your skin, eventually it will stop bleeding and heal over and be pretty much as good as new. Or if you break a bone, it can heal and get better. And when somebody's brain gets damaged, it's not going to work anymore. In the case with cerebral palsy, that means the part of the brain that used to control muscles of the body has been damaged for some reason. So it no longer works, so it's no longer going to send messages to the muscles in the body that it used to control. And this is why cerebral palsy will affect each person differently, depending on which part of the brain is damaged and which muscles that part of the brain used to control. Now, this is all kind of complicated, so let me give you a couple of examples of how cerebral palsy can affect people differently. Now, you can meet somebody who has cerebral palsy, and it may affect a few muscles in one of their arms. And that would be because that part of the brain that used to control those muscles got damaged for some reason, so it's no longer sending messages to the muscles in the arm that it used to control. Now, for this person, maybe they can walk down the street and swing their arms, and maybe they don't look too differently than other people. However, since they can't use all the muscles in their arm, they may have a hard time like writing very neatly, or doing things like sewing, or knitting, or throwing a ball with that hand. Now, you can meet somebody else who has cerebral palsy, and it could affect the muscles on one whole side of their body. And that would be because one whole side of their brain experienced some damage, so it's no longer sending messages to the muscles on the other side of the body that they used to control. Now, for this person, the effects are going to be more so. That person's probably going to have to hold their one arm differently, and maybe they're not going to be able to use that arm very much at all. And since they can't use the muscles in their leg, they may need some help walking. So Mark, can you name different helpers that people use to help them walk better?
Yup, there's things like braces, crutches, canes, and walkers.
Exactly, very good, Mark. Now, sometimes cerebral palsy can affect the way somebody speaks, because we use a lot of muscles when we talk, right? There's muscles in our jaw, muscles around our lips, our tongue has muscles in it. Now, those muscles are affected by cerebral palsy, can make it kind of difficult for somebody to speak very clearly. Now, Mark talks a little bit differently because he has cerebral palsy, but I know some other people who have such a hard time speaking, and it's really hard for other people to understand what they're saying. So they may need to communicate in different ways. Unfortunately, there's lots of different ways that people can communicate. Like, maybe you've seen people who are deaf, who have a hard time speaking, using sign language, to sign their names or other things that they want to say. That's one way people can communicate differently. People can also use helpers to help them communicate better. One thing you guys will see as you get older is people using iPads to communicate. Because now there's applications for iPads where the screen can have a whole bunch of different pictures on it, and each one of those pictures can stand for different words and phrases. And somebody can touch different pictures, put a bunch of different words and phrases together, hit the speaker icon, and then that iPad's going to speak those words and phrases for that person. So this is going to be an excellent helper for people who can't communicate very well on their own. But we got to get back to Mark. Mark's been sitting here so patiently as I talk on and on and on. So Mark uses a certain type of helper. Can you guys tell me what that is? A wheelchair, that's right. Now a lot of buildings nowadays have ramps and elevators and... Mark, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, excuse me, Jim, but don't say what you just said.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you want to tell everyone about ramps and elevators today?
No, that's fine. Tell them about ramps and elevators. They are cool. Don't say the other thing.
Oh, like how cerebral palsy affects how you speak?
No, that's fine too. Don't say the other thing.
Well, we just mentioned your wheelchair.
Wrong.
Mark, you're not gonna tell this group that you can fly, are you?
Oh, Jim, don't be silly.
Well, he's done that before, and that is a wheelchair, isn't it, that one? Thank you.
Excuse me again, Jim, but do you see those people there?
Yeah, I sure do.
Well, they just want to be polite.
They have been very polite for most of the show, yes.
Yup, and they don't want to disagree with you. Mm-mm.
I can't think of anything there was to disagree about.
But you see, they really know.
Didn't really know what.
They really know this is my cruiser.
Mark, you're being silly.
From. Hey, let me let you in on a little secret. You see, I really know this is a wheelchair, but I like to make believe, and I make believe this is my cruiser, 'cause I like to cruise around and check out what's happening. Hey, I have this really neat friend named Mel, and we're going to show you what happened the very first day that we met.
Hey, hi.
Hi.
Hey, are you new around here?
Yup, I moved in that yellow ranch house right down the road.
Oh, I was wondering who moved in there. Hey, what's your name?
Mark.
Mark, my name's Melody, but you can call me Mel.
Okay, Mel. Yeah, I like that.
Hey, Mark, are you sick or something?
No, I'm not sick. I have cerebral palsy.
Oh, yeah, slippable plopsy. Cereal parsley. What is it?
No, CP.
Oh, what's that?
It means cerebral palsy. And with me, it means that I can't walk and I don't talk very well either.
You mean you don't ever walk?
No, I don't ever walk. But I do get around pretty well in my wheelchair. I call it my cruiser.
Hey, neat name.
Yup.
Hey, but how do you go to school or have any fun?
Well, I go to school the same way you do, on a school bus. But my school bus has a lift on it. I just wheel on the lift, press the button, and up I go.
Hey, that sounds like an elevator.
Yup, and I play a lot of neat games too.
Yeah, like what?
Well, I play Monopoly.
Yeah,
And Scrabble.
sure.
And PlayStation.
PlayStation? Hey, I'm in a neighborhood champ at PlayStation.
Wow.
Why don't you come to my house? We can play a game.
Yeah, that sounds great, Mel. Let's go right now. I thought that, but you said... Hey, what's wrong, Mel?
Well, I was just thinking,
Mhm.
like if you came to my house,
Yeah?
I came down with that, I think my mom would get kind of upset with us.
Oh, gee whiz, Mel. You can't catch CP from me. It's not like you can catch a cold or something. It was just something I was born with.
Phew, good.
What?
I mean, good for me, I guess.
Oh,
But I guess I still feel sorry for you.
hey, hold it right there, Mel. I'll tell you what makes me mad. It's when people feel sorry for me.
Yeah, but Mark, you can't walk.
No, but there are a lot of other neat things I can do.
You like what?
Well, are you good at guessing, Mel?
Kinda.
Okay, guess this one.
Swimming.
That's right, Mel. I'm a pretty awesome swimmer. It's part of the exercises I do called physical therapy.
Oh, I never heard of that.
Yup. Now you ready to guess this one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Tennis.
Nope. Try again, Mel.
Baseball?
That's right. You see, even though I can't run the bases, I have a pretty strong arm here, so I'm the team's designated hitter.
Hey, that's pretty neat. Yeah, I don't have a very strong arm, but I'm a pretty fast runner.
Hey, I think we make a pretty good team together.
Yeah.
Now, here's my favorite thing to do. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Basketball.
That's right, Nell. Last year, I went to summer camp, and a bunch of us got together, and we played basketball in our wheelchairs.
Hey, that sounds like fun.
It is. Hey, do you know what we call our team?
No.
The Wheelies.
Neat name.
Yup. And do you know what we call our coach?
No.
Papa Wheelie.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So, Mark, like, how do you eat your breakfast?
Well, Mel, I eat the same way you do. I just wheel up to the table and pig out.
Come, Mark.
Hey, do you have another question, Mel?
What? Me?
Do you think she has another question? Yup, me too. All right, Mel, what's your question?
Well, it's kind of personal.
Personal. Personal? We just met and already she's getting personal. I don't know about girls these days.
Hey.
Well, Mel, what's your question?
Well, I'm trying.
Try again, Mel.
I'm kind of embarrassed.
Don't be embarrassed.
Well, how do you go to the bathroom?
You're right, Mel. That was a personal question.
I know, I warned you.
Yup. But I'm going to answer you anyway.
You are?
Yup. You see, I have these handrails on the sides of my toilet.
Yeah, I've seen those, like the kinds in the restrooms at the restaurants.
That's right, Mel. They're also in lots of other restrooms in other places. And best of all, I have them in my very own house.
In your house?
Yup, it's real easy. I just wheel in the bathroom,
Oh, yeah.
grab onto the rails,
Oh, sure.
hold on tight,
Say no more.
lift up my arms,
I'm really getting embarrassed.
lift up my body,
Okay.
boost myself up,
Yeah.
and that's all I'm going to tell you about how I go to the bathroom.
Well, I was just kind of wondering.
Okay,
Hey, let's go to my house. We'll play that game.
sounds great now. You go set up and I'll be there in a few.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, does anyone have a question for me?
Mark, I got one for you.
Yeah.
How do you take a bath?
Oh, a bath. Okay, well, first of all, I have to tell you that in my house, my parents had constructed a special type of roll-in shower. So anyway, what I do is I do have to transfer out of my wheelchair onto a special shower chair, which also has wheels. I could take that shower chair and wheel right into this big shower unit. There is no step over like you would have at yours. Once I'm in there, the drain is in the center and the floor is slanted a little bit so the water is able to drain right in the drain and not on the floor. Also, while I'm in there, I have a special handheld shower unit that I use. Looks like a hose. And the hot and cold water are within my reach.
Any other questions for Mark? Okay, we'll take it by Mark.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, so that's pretty much our presentation we offer for the 3rd and 4th graders. Now, how this typically runs for the kids when they're seeing it, when we first meet Ellen Jane, we're talking about intellectual disabilities, formerly known as mental retardation. Usually, there's not too many questions, but then as things go along, by the time Mark's up there, Mark's a pretty likable character, there's usually more questions that we have time for. I think a real turnaround for the presentation, kind of like is when Eddie is talking about when David is up on the stage exhibiting autistic behaviors, really the kids are usually out and out laughing because they just think he's acting silly. But when Eddie's taking the stage and answering questions about his brother, that's when we really see like the lights go on, like the kids really get it that, oh wow, so he's not just being silly, that and so they really start asking a lot of questions about why David's acting that way. And then of course there's all sorts of questions for Mark. Now, how this all fits into, hopefully you learned a little bit about specific developmental disabilities, but a lot of what we show in this presentation is some of the different services that different agencies provide to people with developmental disabilities. In a case like with Ellen Jane having a job coach and what we refer to as habilitation staff coming into her apartment, those would all be waiver services. Those are non-medical Medicaid services. And same with Mark when he's talking about the shower adaptation for his home. That would be an environmental modification that would also be a waiver service. And maybe Laura, you can talk a little bit how what you do as an MSC to make those things possible.
Okay, I'm a Medicaid service coordinator, and I work with various agencies to come up with a proposal in regards to what the family needs for their home. Say Mark in his home, he had that special shower unit constructed a few years ago. So what I did was I would speak to the family what they needed, and then through our agency we work with a coordinator that works with Sunmount, and Sunmount is the agency that we go through for our environmental modification projects, assistive technology projects. Those are the things that are maybe like equipment, maybe special trikes, things like that. So, iPads would be an assistive technology. So not only working with our agency and Sunmount, we also need to work with the therapists either in the schools or agencies or the hospitals, the physicians. We need to get justifications for whatever we're looking for to assist the family with. So, and the whole process takes a little while, sometimes a year, but that's what I do as a Medicaid service coordinator, amongst other things. But those are the waiver services that Jim was talking about, all these different projects.
And we also try to touch on some of the things that exist in the special education world, kind of referring to the self-contained class that Ellen Jane was in, as opposed to the resource room that Jennifer was getting for having a learning disability. We refer to Ellen Jane having gone to school until she was 21 years old. Things like that, that exist in the folks that we advocate for. We're often, as service coordinators, when I'm a case manager, trying to help people maximize the education that's available to them before they exit it. Until 21 years old. So in the whole other menu of services that we offer through our agency, we have a Article 28 clinic, which well, I guess it's now federally funded community health center, but it used to be at Article 28 clinic where it was specific to trying to meet the medical needs for people with disabilities. We have a rehabilitation department where we go out and have people work with individuals in their homes on different goals, like with Ellen Jane, whether it's like, shopping or housekeeping or, any kind of independent living skill and social integration. We also have a residential program where we have, I think, our agency alone has like 12 different houses around St. Lawrence County, where we have 24-hour staffing to help meet people's needs. What else do we have? I run an outdoor recreation program for individuals with disabilities where we go out and we do canoeing and swimming and horseback riding, whitewater rafting, camping, stuff like that. So that's just some of the menu of services that our agency offers, and we're not the only game in town. Around here we have NYSARC and LEAP and United Helpers, as well as Sunmount, which is the state agency.
Independent living.
Yes, Independent Living Center up in Messina. They do a lot of advocacy, and they have an architectural barriers consultant who can help with deciding, with planning for environmental modifications. Access VR, yes.
Yeah.
And they would authorize the funding for a job coach that Ellen Jane was referring to for an adult. NYSARC has, these have more center-based vocational programs, and they have an extensive residential program. LEAP has their own residential.
Children and Youth Services through NYSARC, again, that's working with school-age children. So maybe after school, someone will come in and take them out into the community, try to increase socialization skills and getting along with others. And a lot of these programs are skill-building programs, so it helps. And there's also transitions. There's so many programs out there, I think, to help from birth all the way through. So.
Yeah, you always hear about, the funding cuts and things like that, but there's, as a society, we should be very proud of the services we provide to.
Yes, New York State, yes.
Yes,
New York State cares, it really does.
Yeah. Any questions? Yes.
How often do you guys go into the classroom and do this?
About 2 days a week during the school year.
Do you go like all over New York? Or?
The northern 6 counties, so from Cape Vincent to Cumberland Head near Plattsburgh, as far south as Wells into the Adirondacks. And everything.
Clinton, Franklin, Essex, Jefferson,
Hamilton.
No.
St. Lawrence.
St. Lawrence. Yep, so, but because, we also carry caseloads and Jim runs a rec program, we can only provide the program 2 days a week. And, and we also have a younger program that we offer called Making Friends. And we offer that program to kindergarten and first graders. And it's a different program than this one. It's only half hour, and we use little Cabbage Patch dolls, and they have equipment, a wheelchair. One is blind, and one has crutches and things.
Yeah. So mostly
we likes and differences, and so we just introduce the basics.
Yeah, mostly physical disabilities.
Physical disabilities.
We don't get into the causes and stuff of different disabilities.
Yeah.
How long did you say that you guys been doing this for?
Together as a team, I think we're like 13 or 14 years together. And the agency has been providing the program, I think, for like 27, 28 years. Because I've been doing it, I don't know, 23 years.
This is 14 for me.
14, yeah.
You guys are saying that you do like canoe trips and other. Do you ever do any skiing?
We do cross-country skiing. We haven't gotten into downhill, mostly for the distance and the expense.
Yeah.
But there are places that there is an adaptive ski program up at Whiteface, where they have, those seated ski systems that are really helpful.
Yeah,
folks.
pretty cool.
And then there's Adirondack Adaptive Adventures. I think they do more skiing up in the Lake Placid, other side of the mountains towards Climate Falls.
Do you see that the questions have changed over the last 13 years since there's more inclusion in the schools now? And they see it?
We've noticed a difference with some of the questions, but I think the biggest thing for us too is we're still hearing questions even after 27 years that we've never been asked before. So we're like, wow, that's a new question, and we do that, thousands of programs. But changing, I don't know. We've added the autism skit because it's very prevalent. I don't know.
Well, yeah, we always skip a new one that stumps us. There was a young lady in Mansfield who asked us, like, this very complicated neurological question.
And the puppets are trying to answer.
So, depends on the class. I would say, definitely we started getting a lot more questions when Eddie's taking questions about David and about autism. Always a lot of questions for Mark about how he does that, this and that. I'm trying to think when, intellectual disability is a new term that we're using now, so that's, kind of the phrase that, in the field instead of mental retardation. So before, so we try to just emphasize that this difference between that and learning disabilities.
I think I know what we've noticed is sometimes we offer the program for the 5th graders. And the 5th graders have a whole line of questions that are in the neurological and the brain and this side and that side. And so they're very, very good.
Now this program is developed by the Kids on the Block company out of Columbia, Maryland. So when we purchase the puppets, we purchase scripts. So like when they're on stage, that's actually copywritten material that we're kind of obliged to stick to. But I guess they're targeted towards 3rd and 5th graders. We're going for 3rd grades, one thing we've noticed over the years is it's much more difficult to get to schedule schools. Quite frankly, it would be probably No Child Left Behind has made a huge impact on our ability to get into schools. There's just a lot more regimented time for even kindergartners. They have mandatory reading time and stuff like that. So that's been, whereas like 13 years ago, we could, if we're over in Peru, we could do, one school in the morning, another school in the afternoon. Now it's like, we can only get like one school a day. So I think that's the biggest differences.
And you also sometimes have students with disabilities in the audience.
Yes.
Now, do they ask questions too, or?
No, not often.
Mm-hmm.
Not very often. But they do laugh at the skits, and it's great when someone is in a wheelchair in our program. They just think it's the greatest thing, And the students are wonderful with each other. They have a very good rapport with their peers. For those that sometimes join us. Other times what we find is that maybe a child with a disability in the back of the classroom is like, maybe yelling a little too much, and right away they have to take out the students. So sometimes that's not always pleasant for us because, they just get excited, and so we would prefer they stay, but...
It would be nice to have them invite parents for these sessions.
Oh, yes, we have always done that year after year. We have invited parents and other staff in the school. Not very often, but we get those extra people, but the option is there.
Okay. Other questions? Thank you so much.